I'm Oracle, and this is Tarot Symbology. We're continuing our course with the Pentacle quartz. Now, there's a lot of yellow in here indicating sort of this daylight feel, or sunny feel, or clear skies feel, right? We have a bit of closed in with the Queen, and we'll come back to that. However, I want you to mainly notice that they're all staring at the Pentacles. This could be a ton of different things. This could be that we need some more inspection, right? Like when I went to the doctor and I had 200 over 100 blood pressure attacks, and they're like, nah, yeah, we'll just put you on this medication. So I needed to examine that situation more closely, and I would have found out that carbohydrates were causing my problem. So one of those things where examine the situation more closely, as well as you could be looking at introspection, right? Looking at ourselves, or it could be focused on money as well, focused on earthly things, maybe not money, maybe earthly things. Maybe we're focused on buying a house. Maybe we're focused on a lot of different opportunities or a new job or something like that. So earthly matters come into play here as we're staring at the Pentacles. But there is a definitive feel across here of a distraction and focus towards a single thing. So what that is could depend on the cards around it and the question, etc. So let's move on to the Page of Pentacles by himself. So the Page of Pentacles obviously is staring at the Pentacles, but he's holding it up, which is interesting. And he has a very loose grip. He's not firmly holding it. He's not handing it. You know what I mean? Where the difference between firmly holding an object to where you show possession, or handing it to someone to where you show a gift. Instead, he has this loose grip on it, almost like this, right? There's just this loose kind of grip on it. So you're wondering, like, what's going on? So he doesn't have a good grip on earthly matters. It could literally mean that kind of almost a pun, right? Doesn't have a good grip on earthly matters, or earthly matters aren't very focused for him. Also, he's holding it high, which could mean earthly matters are critical to him right now. Even though he doesn't have a good grip on it, it's critical to him. So that new job could be critical. The new house could be critical. Money could be something critical. Not only is he focusing on it, but again, he's holding it high up. And you don't really see that within the rest of the cards. They're also holding it down or in front of them, but he's holding it up almost as a priority or an importance to him in these particular matters. Now, he's also has 1 foot off balance. He could be slightly off balance and not really grounded in earthly matters. See what I'm saying? He could be not grounded or not focused on the earthly matters. And we do, of course, have the mountain, which points to the challenges. And the challenges are in the distance, and we have sort of a rolling hills before that as well. Lots of green showing life. And again, clear skies and this yellow sort of feel, or this focused sort of feel. So there's not a lot of distractions in the sky. There's not a lot of things coming around to distract him. So he has that focus on the Pentacle. And that is the Page of Pentacles. And the next card, of course, is the Knight. Now you'll notice the Knight is not moving. In many other Knight cards, he's moving, he's wandering around, but he's perfectly stationary on this, which is highly interesting. So he does have, again, that handout. So again, the multiple types of things. I can show possession, holding it like this. I can show a giving, holding it like this. So he is more giving in this case. I would say even more giving than the Page of Pentacles. I mean, you could argue holding at your fingertips is the optimal giving position, but to me it just represents our balance. But if you want to use that, feel free. But in my opinion, we have the giving handout, or the giving posture for that. In addition, he's heavily armored. So he has his own protection, or he feels the need to be protected from earthly matters. And a lot of times we have this, right? Let's say you're buying a house and you don't really trust your real estate agent or something like that, you feel unprotected, you're going to put on some armor or put on some protection. And he has, I believe, the most protection on him of any card in the deck, I'm pretty sure, as far as obviously the Universal Rider Waite. So he has a ton of protection, including the helmet, which is raised up to see his face, and the giving posture. Now, knights traditionally went around and collected dues, per se, for the king and the queen, so giving wasn't exactly the best thing that they did, but he does have red all over the place as well, showing that action, or showing that commitment, showing that sort of that Aries feel. And we see that Aries feel in a couple of other cards as well. We'll come to that because these have a ton of symbology on them, tons and tons. So let's make room for those. But we do have that Aries feel with that red action feel. In addition, he does have not only all of the armor and all of this protection, but he has this glove on, showing a distancing of himself from the earthly matters, or from the Pentacles. So he's well protected from the backlash or from the bad side of the Pentacles, as well as he has that level of extra protection with the glove. It looks like sort of an oven mitt almost. Not literally, but I mean, it looks like a pretty hefty glove there. So again, with that extra level of protection, does he really need that protection? I ask you the question, does he need that protection when he's giving something? Why does he have all that protection? So we have the mountains, but they're far off. So the distances, the problems, the challenges to come are far, far in the distance, much farther than other cards where we have them closer up. You can see obviously here and here the relative distance difference between those two. So the Knight of Pentacles, again, not moving, stationary. Could be stuck in earthly matters, could be stationary in earthly matters. It could be in earthly matters we don't really want to deal with, right? So we have the Knight, we have a ton of protection, we're not moving, we got protection. So we had issues buying the house, we could be sort of stuck at this point for that Knight of Pentacles, and that is the Knight of Pentacles. So throughout the King and Queen, we have a lot of fruit. Yes, a lot of fruit. We have tons of grapes. We have grapes on the vine. Well, they have the vine, and we'll see these as well with the 9, where we have lots and lots of grapes, and that sort of bled through or focused through into the king's robe. So we have the king's robe and the vines, and you notice the vines are the same kind, I believe, as the one in the 9 as well. So we have a lot of commonality between here. We have grapes in real life and then grapes on the outfit. So we have not real grapes, but sort of fake grapes, and a couple of real grapes in the back. But for the most part, we have a ton of grape style things going on here. So interesting stuff there. Let's go back to the Queen. Sorry. Good. The Queen and the Queen. There we go. So the Queen. So we do have a lot of interesting things within the Queen card. One, we have the Ram reference, and that points us to, again, the Aries. So not only do we have this red action pack, almost this fire Aries feel, but it bleeds over into the Queen, where we have that as well. So we also have the rabbit, sort of symbolizing that fastness or that speed and stuff like that. One of the main focuses on here, by the way, the Aries, the determination, the focus, and things like that. One of the main themes of this card is being surrounded, and a lot of times we're surrounded by too much, or we're overwhelmed, we feel surrounded. And you see that here as well. We have this almost this child, maybe a child trapped or something like that, and then we have a child's head up here. So we have two children's references, both of which are trapped. I mean, this child is trapped within sort of the top area, and this child is trapped within the square, and the Queen herself is trapped within this, within the vines and everything else. So we do have the roses connecting us to joy and beauty and things like that, but joy and beauty have sort of trapped her or surrounded her a bit too much. in this particular case. So a lot of times when you get this card and you bring it out, you want to ask about, do you feel trapped? Do you feel where you don't have a lot of room to move around, or you don't have a lot of things to look forward to, or things like this? So a lot of times you'll feel trapped, or you'll feel sort of too engaged in something to be able to get out, or you in a situation, maybe a legal agreement, or again buying a house, you're in some sort of a bad agreement with that, or a bad situation to where you feel just trapped. And she is holding the pentacle lower, so in my opinion, versus let's say the knight or the page, she holds the earthly matters in a lower regard than both of those, in my opinion. Feel free to insert your own meaning for that. We do have the Aries feel with the robe as well, and interesting, we have pears and fruit and things like that all over here indicating the life, and we have the life behind her. Now, it's interesting that the life in front of her is a bit more sparse or barren than the life or the greenery behind her, indicating maybe the future is not so promising, or the future is not exactly full of that earthly stuff, or that life, or things like this. So we could have a forward-facing future of less prosperity, but we have prosperity in the back, or we had a good situation in the back and maybe not the best situation coming up. And the rabbit as well could indicate that we're sort of running into the situation partially unprepared. So the rabbit is running from a very lush greenery into sort of a sparse, soil type thing. So we do have the mountains in the background, again indicating the challenges, and the challenges are kind of behind her. The chair / crown does indicate stability. So we do have stability, some stability with earthly things. And again, I believe that she's holding earthly things in a lower regard, or in a lower priority than some of the other cards. But that's just my opinion of the card. Feel free to put in the comments what you think about this. And that is the Queen of Pentacles. And speaking of Pentacles, we have the King. So the King has a lot of interesting things. So the King is again staring at the Pentacle, and he's holding it from a topmost position, which sort of indicates to me of a possession, or sort of focused on it as well. But he has a possession of it, so it's very possessive, in my opinion, this particular thing. And we have the Bull in several places. And by the way, the sort of this not undead, sort of this connection with the afterlife as well. We have all of these skulls, so we have this sort of this loose connection to the afterlife, if you want to look at that as well. So again, we have all of the grapes are on his person, and we have a couple of them in the background as well, but predominantly it's on his person. And we do have this luxurious castle behind him. However, he has a barrier between him and the castle, and if you know my particular style of reading, that barrier could indicate a distance between him and prosperity, or distance between him and home, right? So you get a reading and someone's like, I miss my home. You kind of get that feel here because you have a barrier between you and the home. So he does have a scepter in his right hand, sort of indicating that power, as well as the stableness we have brought in with the throne, and a lot of different things. Now he is armored, which is interesting. So underneath that, he does have a bit of armor. So are we back to the heavily armored knight? Are we back to the heavily armored knight? He is armored, or things like that. And this could be interesting in a relationship reading, because he's protected, but it's not showing, right? So he has a level of protection he's not showing. That could be interesting, let's say in a lawsuit. They're well protected, but it's not obvious, because we have this well protected foot, which could indicate a well protected underneath the robe as well. So a lot of lush greenery and things like this. So overall, it's just an interesting card, and that is the King of Pentacles. And another thing to note with the Bull, with the stability, that Taurus feel the reliability, right? So we pull this in a relationship reading. What kind of man am I finding? A fairly reliable, stable one. But remember that he is well protected, although it's not really obvious, right? It's not obvious he's well protected. He could have a distance or a barrier between him and home. Maybe he's not close to his family or something like that. So, again, King of Pentacles. And speaking of wealth and pentacles, I have a Patreon. It's where you can give me back a couple of bucks, if you'd like, a month, and a couple of bucks to help with the software, with the all the different things that I do over here. If you like what you see, please consider donating a couple of bucks on Patreon. Link in the description. My current Patreon, wonderful Patreon people are Adam G, Alley Cat, Annie Lemaster, Brianna Santiago, Carmen Gabriano, Carolyn Bouchard, Crystal McGinn, Fatima, Galatia 9, Gary Fink, Hot Chocolate, Jessica Mante, John Foote, Kim Wilson, KSW La Ami, Richard Zeh, Shintaro Kuga, Sanai Zamora, and Trino Idaverio. Thank you so much for being my Patreon supporters and helping with the channel. And thank you for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.